space. What we once thought was untouchable is still a main topic of conversation today. Countless discoveries have been made, even ones that make us question the simplest of things. The missions to space have caused quite a large bit of controversy due to the dangers of the missions themselves. January 28th, 1986. The Space Shuttle Challenger, STS-51L, is ready for launch in Cape Canaveral, Florida. After being postponed 3 times because of extreme cold weather, the launch time was finalized and set to be at 11:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everything seemed to be perfect. The launch trajectory was at a perfect angle, the crew ready and excited. Then, 73 seconds into the monumental flight, the shuttle exploded with no warning. Everyone on board was declared dead. Family and friends were tuned into the launch. The schools that turned on TVs to see the spectacle saw a horrific sight instead.
And we were so excited to be watching this historic event. We were just so proud of our hometown girl. And so we were just riveted to the TV, everyone watching with great anticipation and excitement and awe. And so when that moment happened, when it just, the explosion and the 2 clouds going off in different directions, it just sent this wave of shock through the whole, in my classroom where I was, and of course throughout the whole school, and it was just silence. Nobody had anything to say. Nobody could say a word. We were just utterly shocked and devastated.
The mission started when NASA first had the idea to expand first-hand accounts in space, which started when NASA first launched the Teacher in Space program. The main purpose of this mission was to send a teacher in space to prove regular citizens could do the extraordinary. It was ambitious, but NASA had believed that they had developed their space program significantly just 25 years after America had sent the first American man to space. They had put together so much in little time and had many breakthroughs with the concepts of space travel. After thousands of possible candidates, NASA finally found the one who was right for the role. Susan Christa McAuliffe. Susan McAuliffe, or better known as Christa McAuliffe, was originally from Framingham, Massachusetts, and she had obtained her first teaching position in 1970 as an American history teacher at Benjamin Follis Junior High School in Morningside, Maryland. From 1971 to 1978, she taught history and civics at Thomas Johnson Middle School in Lanham, Maryland. The mission to find McAuliffe was a lengthy process, as NASA went through thousands of candidates at first. On August 27, 1984, the president, Ronald Reagan, announced that a teacher would be the first private citizen to be chosen, prepared, and sent to space.
Today I'm directing NASA to begin a search in all of our elementary and secondary schools and to choose as the first citizen passenger in the history of our space program, one of America's finest, a teacher.
They would then live stream their experience from the shuttle to every American screen. They called it the Teacher in Space Project. It was designed to expand the shuttle mission opportunities to a wider segment of citizens. It had the purpose of communicating the experience and flight log. The Council of Chief State School Officers was selected by NASA to coordinate the selection process. In November 1984, an announcement of opportunity was distributed, listing the eligibility requirements and a description of the selection process and criteria, medical requirements, and responsibilities of the teacher selected to fly on the shuttle mission. More than 11,000 teachers from the 50 states and other American territories applied for the flight. State, territorial, and agency review panels selected 114 nominees. The 114 nominees met in Washington, D.C. from June 22nd to June 27th, 1985, for a national awards conference which focused on various aspects of space education. During their stay in Washington, all nominees met formally and informally with the National Review Panel, which elected the 10 finalists. On July 1st, 1985, the 10 finalists were announced, and on July 7th, they traveled to Johnson Space Center for a week of thorough medical examinations and briefings about spaceflight. From July 15th to July 18th, each of the finalists were interviewed by a NASA evaluation committee made up of senior NASA officials. The committee made recommendations to the NASA administrator, who selected Krista McAuliffe and Barbara Morgan as the primary and backup candidates for the NASA Teacher in Space project. Along with Krista, the Challenger crew was made up of 7 pre-picked NASA astronauts, which consisted of highly trained professionals. The hand-picked crew that joined McAuliffe on this fated flight consisted of Michael Smith, Ronald McNair, Judith Resnick, Ellison Onizuka, Gregory Jarvis, and Francis Dick Scobie. Gregory B. Jarvis was 42 years old when this mission took his life. Mission Specialist Judith A. Resnick was 36. Mission Specialist Ellison S. Onizuka was 39. Mission Specialist Ronald E. McNair was 35. Pilot Michael J. Smith was 41. Commander Francis Dick Scobie was 47. And Civilian Payload Specialist Krista McAuliffe was 38. As with all space missions, there was a risk, but the problems with the Challenger were shown to be prominent even before the launch. Roger Boisjoli, a booster rocket engineer at NASA, was highly aware of the risks and attempted to spread awareness.
What it's about is professionals in the system who had the authority and responsibility and fiduciary interest to do the right thing. And they abdicated that. They abdicated that because they were pressured to do so by the agency called NASA.
Boisjoli was very wary of the mission and tried desperately to make NASA and the Thiokol headquarters to rethink the launch. The problem, Boisjoli later wrote, was the elastic seals at the joint of the multi-stage booster rockets, or better known as the O-rings. These type of boosters tended to stiffen and unseal in cold weather, and NASA's ambitious shuttle launch schedule included winter liftoffs with risky temperatures. On January 27, 1986, the weather forecast for the following morning, January 28th, at Cape Canaveral, dropped to temperatures as low as 20 degrees Fahrenheit. NASA had never launched in temperatures that cold, and Boisjoli and his fellow colleagues at Thiokol headquarters in Utah concluded that it would be too dangerous to launch. Thiokol Manufacturer was a large manufacturing company that produces many machines and parts for NASA's rockets, as well as other manufacturing brands. After NASA continually refused their pleas to postpone the mission and the mission failed, he had something major to say. Unveiling himself and getting rid of his cloak of confidentiality, Boisjoli confronted the Challenger Commission head-on and testified. He filed a lawsuit against NASA and Thiokol headquarters unsuccessfully. The Challenger mission was a symbol of everything that could go wrong with a space mission, and showed the world how risky missions to space are. The Challenger and its crew are still remembered today through many different organizations, such as the Challenger Center, started by families of the lost crew members. They have centers all across America that include simulations of NASA missions and museums of past NASA launches. Krista McAuliffe will always be remembered for her bravery, and many associations have put up buildings and memorials in her honor to keep her memory alive. The Krista McAuliffe Library in her hometown of Framingham, Massachusetts. It stands to honor Krista and her love of expanding knowledge to all, which was her main motivation for her position on the shuttle. The Challenger disaster touched the hearts of thousands. Space missions come at a great price, and they often fail more time than they have succeeded. But the Challenger stuck in the minds of everyone because of the supported milestone of having someone besides an astronaut in space.
I would never have thought we would ever go this far without losing some people in something where you're up there traveling around at 5 miles a second, heat of re-entry and all the complexities and the things that have to work right. We come to a time when something happens and we have a tragedy that goes along with our triumphs. And I guess that's the story of all mankind.